According to Phishing.org, phishing is a cybercrime in which a target or targets are contacted by email by someone posing as a legitimate institution to lure individuals into providing sensitive data, such as personally identifiable information, banking and credit card details, and passwords. The card information is then used to access important accounts and can result in identity theft and financial loss. This is the most common type of cyber attack, which everyone is susceptible to. Over time, people have endeavored to develop countermeasures, such as awareness programs that raise awareness of phishing attacks, and technical controls that scan and filter out malicious emails and links from getting to users. However, as the increasing numbers of reported email phishing incidents indicate, society is still vulnerable for this attack, and it is becoming more sophisticated. Therefore, to prevent phishing attacks and providing proper education and training about how the bad guys operate to protect society is critical and essential.
Walmart Security's latest report, 2018 State of the Phish report, revealed that 76 of organizations experienced phishing attacks in 2017. Approximately half of the information security professionals surveyed stated that the rate of phishing attacks has increased from 2016. Although the awareness of cybercrimes has increased and systems and trainings do exist to mitigate vulnerabilities, successful phishing attacks still occur and the number is growing. Furthermore, the FBI investigated that from October 2013 to December 2016, there were approximately over 22,000 scam incidents and $1.6 billion were lost as a result. This also indicates that approximately $500 million are lost annually due to email phishing. Another reason why phishing is such a big deal is because anyone can be the target.
More recently, John Podesta, the chairman of Clinton presidential campaign, had gotten an email that he thought was from Gmail.
Received an email on March 19th telling him, quote, "Someone just used your password to try to sign into your Google account. Google stopped this sign-in attempt. You should change your password immediately." The email stated that the attempt was made in Ukraine, and it included a link for Podesta to change his password. That email was then forwarded to Podesta's chief of staff, who sent it along to the campaign's IT team. Their response? Quote, "This is a legitimate email. Johnny."
The email was in fact sent by the Russian military intelligence unit. He put in his password and the hackers stole Barai's confidential information. Result of this was devastating. The Russian hackers, who acquired login credentials from Podesta, stole information and documents of the Clinton campaign and interfered in the U.S. presidential election of 2016. The most common motivation behind phishing attack is money. However, this incident demonstrates that the motivation behind phishing attacks could be other than just money by illustrating the nation-state-sponsored Russian hackers' attempts to undermine public faith in the democratic process of the United States. Another noteworthy incident of email phishing is the incident of Google and Facebook. You would think that such a big tech companies like Google and Facebook would know better than fall for email scams. But so a 40-something-year-old Lithuanian man, this guy set up a company in Latvia and named it after Asian computer hardware company. Then, he sent out phishing emails to Google and Facebook, who regularly had multi-million dollars to deal with the Asian company, saying that they owed the fake company some money. Both Google and Facebook fell for this, and when the money arrived, he distributed the money to different bank accounts he had in Barai's location. This went on for 2 years, from 2013 to 2015. It took them 2 years to realize that something wasn't adding up. This guy made $100 million during this process, but was finally caught after 2 years. He is charged with wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft, and was sentenced to 42 years in jail. This incident suggests that the targets of email phishing could be anyone, and even those who are tech savvy could fall for it.
Like corporations, students are also at risk of being targeted by phishing. As recently as September of this year, the U.S. Education Department's Office of Federal Student Aid has gotten reports from colleges and universities about phishing attacks. The attackers requested login credentials of student accounts through the IHE student portals. These attacks are successful due to the students' compliance in providing requested information to their institutions and the system's use of just one-factor authentication. This suggests that hackers carry out in-depth research about the target and find the vulnerability before the actual attack. After gaining access to the portal, the attacker changes the student's direct deposit destination to theirs, and the FSA refunds intended for the student are sent to the attacker instead. This demonstrates that the methods used by hackers are becoming more strategic and sophisticated in order to accomplish their goal through phishing.
As illustrated by various examples, anyone can be the target of phishing attacks, and it could cause tremendous damage. Unfortunately, there is no perfect solution to stopping phishing attacks. However, anyone can prevent phishing attacks by being able to identify what phishing email look like, which is why raising awareness of phishing and educating anti-phishing tactics to people is pivotal.
Some might argue that cyber threats are evolving too rapidly for mass education of people to be successful. This is somewhat true. Phishing attacks have been developing, and the methods hackers utilize have also been developing. However, stakeholder engaging education and user training done by organizations or institutions on a monthly or quarterly basis could educate people with updated information about how to identify phishing emails and effectively mitigate the vulnerabilities of being attacked by rapidly developing phishing attacks.
Organizations should actively seek the interests of their stakeholders and provide engaging quarterly or monthly user training and education with updated information about anti-phishing tactics and current phishing trends. Anti-phishing tactics may include being suspicious of unsolicited email messages from individuals asking about information about them or their organization, paying attention to the URL, which may seem legitimate but could have variation in spelling or a different domain than the valid website, not clicking on attached links sent by an unknown individual, and by taking advantage of anti-phishing features provided by various softwares. Furthermore, the administrators should implement a sender policy framework record to their organization's domain name system zone file to minimize risks relating to the receipt of spoofed messages.
However, there is a limit to our current standards as well as our recommendation because they leave marginalized people unprotected and more vulnerable.
This is also known as residual risk. The definition of residual risk is the remaining risk even after the treatment. Although the targets of phishing could be anyone, the current standards, even after the treatment, does not provide protections to all stakeholders. Here are some possible stakeholders who are excluded from the recommendations. People who are not part of big organizations or institutions that could provide high-quality user training and education, people who are part of organizations but do not have access to high-quality and frequent anti-phishing programs, and retired senior citizens who do not have access to high-quality anti-phishing programs and are usually not aware of phishing countermeasures.
This creates a huge gap between those who are included and excluded, making the excluded group more vulnerable to phishing. Because email phishing is a societal problem, effective remediation should not just be on an organizational level, but on societal level.
Therefore, in order to effectively mitigate the vulnerability of the society as a whole, service providers should inform users about common email phishing countermeasures and provide necessary awareness programs and trainings to identify phishing emails. Along with user education, service providers should utilize multiple channels to engage all stakeholders and implement technical controls that can identify phishing emails and block them in the first place before getting to the users. This could be done by implementing a robust SPF system. There are existing systems provided by Google, Outlook alike, but improved and strengthened email system would result in better defenses against phishing.
Because everyone is vulnerable to phishing attacks and the damage caused can be serious, something ought to be done to remediate this societal problem. As discussed, there is no perfect solution to stop phishing attacks.
However, it is possible to educate people across the social spectrum to be aware of phishing emails through education and user training provided by organizations or institutions and service providers.
Furthermore, it is important that stakeholders not only stay aware of phishing trends, but also keep their devices and internet browser up to date with current security patches. With education and user training, as well as technical control, it is possible to effectively mitigate society's vulnerability to phishing.